Today we're going to meet Benjamin Franklin, born in 1706 and died in 1790. Now, Benjamin Franklin was not only one of the founding fathers of the United States, he was a leading writer, publisher, inventor, diplomat, scientist, and philosopher. He is well known for his experiments with electricity and lightning and for publishing Poor Richard's Almanac and the Pennsylvania Gazette. Now, he served as Postmaster General under the Continental Congress and later became a prominent abolitionist. He's credited with inventing the lightning rod, the Franklin stove, swim fins, and bifocals. But he also believed in giving back to his country. He was civic-minded and started lending libraries and volunteer fire departments. So when we look at Benjamin Franklin's life, he seems to be a jack of all trades. He also seems to have quite a few literary works, and we learn about both of those in his autobiography. So when we start talking about his achievements that you would be reading about in his biography, he first starts talking about the jobs that helped him in his first career. He's a printer, a writer, and a newspaperman. Matter of fact, he starts printing off Poor Richard's Almanac. He's also known as an inventor. He's an organizational leader. And he seemed to get a lot of people to volunteer, especially around the time of the American Revolution. He was very much into community improvement. He liked to give a lot of money to the local churches of the area, whether he was in attendance of it or if it was just happening to be in Philadelphia itself. He also was quite interested in becoming American. When he first was trying to become a wealthy man, he certainly supported the British colonies. But when we saw a lot of business people, such as Franklin, starting to weigh heavily under the taxes, and his workers themselves were not doing well with the inflation, that was the time that Franklin thought it's probably a good idea to become more American than British colonist. And so he began confronting the British in some of his newspapers. And then, of course, he helped gain French support in 1777 when he went over to Paris. Now, when we look again at his biography, he's born in a poor candlemaker's family in Boston. He actually doesn't receive a regular education. He was in a large family, and by the time we get to him, who is one of the youngest, he already has adult brothers and sisters, and so at a certain age, he is starting to be lended out first to his father's business and then to his oldest brother's printing business. So he became an apprentice printer when he was 12. By the time he's 16, he's now editing a newspaper and he was publishing lots of essays. And then, of course, because now he thought he was good enough to start off on his own, he left for Philadelphia when he was 17. Once there, he becomes a successful printer and publisher, so successful that he buys up more and more printing companies around the area and is eventually able to retire when he's 42. And we call it retirement, but they didn't actually have that word back then because nobody really retired back then. And Franklin was able to retire when he was 42. So now he had time for other things. He was a scientist with lots of inventions and a famous experiment. He did do the experiment about electricity by standing in a thunderstorm with the kites. Moreover, his son helped him with that, but he was there. He was also a famous statesman, the only American who once signed all 4 documents that helped create our new country. So, of course, he's an example who made the American dream come true. Now, talking about his literary works, he is more famously known for Poor Richard's Almanac, which is modeled on farmers' annual calendars, and he kept publishing it for many years. It includes many classical sayings and idioms such as "a penny saved is a penny earned." We also have his autobiography that was written in parts for his son to have as a memoir of his father. Now, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is the first of its kind in literature. He began writing it when he was 65 years of age. Now, it's an introduction of his life to his own adult son, and it includes 4 parts that are written at different times over the years. It also reminds us of Benjamin Franklin's Puritanism influence, because remember, he was born and raised in Boston. And so a lot of the biography talks about his self-examination and self-improvement. We see him discussing 13 virtues. We see him actually putting out a timetable about how to perfect himself. We see different parts of his lifestyles being explained. We also see Enlightenment spirits, how man's nature is inherently good. We also see the rights of liberty being discussed and the virtues that include order. Now, the style in which the autobiography is written is simple, it's very clear in order, it's direct, and it's concise. For example, he says, nothing should be expressed in 2 words that can as well be expressed in 1. Definitely a Puritanism influence. Now, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is popular. It's still well read today, and his values and lifestyle still influence lots of Americans. Thank you so much for stopping by for an introduction to Benjamin Franklin. I hope you enjoyed this author. If you want to read about more authors, please continue on to my channel. And if there's other authors you'd like to see, please let me know down in the comments. And as always, I'd be glad if you'd subscribe.